I want to apologize to you because yesterday I was supposed to create my, I think it was 7, I'm going to have to check, Vlogmas, and I was in utter disarray, completely overwhelmed, ADHD, paralysis, frozen, autistic meltdown, you might say. No, I didn't tear the house up and give anybody any trouble. I was very stoic and quiet. But after a night of wrestling, I decided to do a video on it today. Neurotypical parents, beware, because I'm about to read your pedigree. I do have to admit that I've been a little bit ragey over this today because last night when I went to bed, which I normally go to bed pretty early, I just rolled around the bed all night long because of some emotional deregulation. And most people don't struggle with this kind of thing. They struggle maybe with something else or one project they're trying to do or something like that. But because my life has been so affected by neurodivergence, and I'm going to be 65 years old soon, my life is still affected by it. My children are affected by it. I'm sure that my father was neurodivergent. He suffered a lot of things and worried about a lot of things and felt less than. So even from a little bitty child, all through school I was affected by it. Every problem that I've ever had in my life and so many of the things that I've suffered have been either caused by or affected by something related to neurodivergence. Yesterday I was in kind of like a meltdown, and as I said before, no big issue. I've learned to handle it with stoicism. But even when I got, last night was just rolling and tossing and thinking and regretting and regressing and thinking, how can I be a better person? How can I be more efficient? How can I do things better? How can I have less struggles? It just, all night long. And of course my children are always first and foremost in my mind because of all the things that I've done and that I can't hardly live with. It's all my fails when it comes to my children. And I am trying desperately to be a better mom. Desperately. I'm not going to go into that because I'll be in all sorts of mess. Just had a little brain freeze. But anyway, so I woke up this morning and I went into ADHD, paralysis, whatever you want to call it, autistic inertia, autistic freeze, you can just name it. But, I just, on this couch right back here, it just took me hours to get woke up and to sort in my mind what was going on and what I needed to, it didn't even come to me to make a video on it until a little bit later. But, and all of the coping skills, which I talk about all the time. But I'm going to talk about it in a little different way this time. When I look back at the things that I've gone through over my childhood, over all the escapades that have happened in my life, and I've shared them on old videos if you want to go back and watch them. Getting to know the Phoenix is one. All of the things that have gone in my life, the things that's gone on in my life over the past 5 years, 10 years, the things that's gone on in my life this week, and what's going on even today have been affected by this. It has been made compounded to become so much worse, so much more painful, because parents, family, teachers, employers, nobody really understands neurodivergence, autism, high sensitivity, They don't understand. You hear over and over your entire life, why can't you just be normal? Why can't you go to bed at night? Why can't you just get up and work during the day like normal people? How come you have so much trouble with school? Why can't you get your homework done? Why can't you study? You know, it just goes on and on your entire life until you learn to mask. And masking is a huge, huge part of being neurodivergent and autistic, because you have to pretend to be normal, and you're not. It's like telling a blind person, go out in the street and walk around like a normal person. What's wrong with you? No, autism, neurodivergence, ADHD, and all of these things, high sensitivity that goes along with neurodivergence, this is a pervasive mental disability. It's not going away. You can't force us into a mold that makes us neurotypical any more than a neurotypical person can get into a neurodivergence brain and know what it feels like or what we deal with on a daily basis. Why do you go to bed and sleep so much? You know, why do you cry every time, you know, this happens? Or how come you're avoidant? How come you have no emotions over a gift I give you? Or, you know, it just is constant bombardment. The good side of being neurodivergent is we're very empathic. We care deeply about people. But what happens is, after you're browbeat and pushed and forced to mask and pretend to be someone that you're not, you kind of get to the point where you've just had enough, and you can get pretty attitudinal and angry, and you're pushed over the edge. And society, school systems, and parents need to learn this. Families need to learn this, because sometimes the cruelty that we suffer because of our sensitivity is inhumane. The expectations put on us are ridiculous because it's just not who we are. Now, you put us in a safe space, you put us in a place where we feel safe, and we have the comfort and the freedom to explore our expertise. We become artists, we become composers, we become the Elon Musk, the geniuses, but we are hindered and hampered by the browbeating and the expectations of the neurotypical, who have no clue what we're going through. And I have witnessed the pain and the suffering in my own family, the divisions, the estrangements, the harsh words and things that have gone on. And because I was raised with these expectations, I had these expectations on my children as well. And now I live with regret and remorse because I didn't understand it. Even a year ago, I thought that I understood it, but I hadn't even touched the tip of the iceberg. Today I'm going to do this just a little bit differently, because I'm not going to sit here and try to drive through this whole video. I'm going to get up and I'm going to start doing my daily task, and when I have something that just really hits me, I'm going to come add to it. This may not seem Christmassy, and honestly I really don't care, because we'll make it as Christmassy as we can with this Christmas tree in the back. But there are going to be so many autistics and neurodivergent people suffer through the holiday season because they're expected to mask, and they're expected to be normal, and they're going to have harsh words said to them when they simply cannot be what neurotypical family members expect them to be. I just had an intermission because I'm having to think really hard about this, and my thinker's not exactly working. Okay, that happens when you have meltdowns, shutdowns, polarizing freezes. But one thing that I want to say is that the number of people in our population that are affected by neurodivergence is growing and growing and growing. And if you are a neurotypical family and you are blessed with all neurotypical children and all neurotypical grandchildren, you just wait. Because if you live long enough, autism, ADHD, hypersensitivity, neurodiversion is coming to your family. So I want to set all of you neurotypical parents on high alert. If you have a child that is gagging when you feed them, throwing up when they go through the perfume aisle, they're crying when you take them to the nursery, they're throwing tantrums when something changes, if you sense that your child is out of the ordinary and you find yourself saying, "Why are you doing this? Why can't you be normal?" Go on high alert. Get the child tested. Don't put them on a bunch of medications. They don't need a bunch of medications normally, unless they've had some kind of brain trauma or physical, issues. They don't need medications so much. Yes, some ADHD medications can help, but get them tested. Find out what's going on and then educate yourself. But for society as a whole, you need to realize that we are the up and coming humanity. And we are the geniuses. We are the overly smart people. We are the people that create rockets and plan to go to Mars. We are the geniuses of the future. And one thing about us is we have memories like elephants. We never forget anything. And it's easy to hold grudges when you're like this because you never forget anything that's happened. I can go all the way back to being in 3rd grade. And the teacher calls me out and I go into a special reading room. And there was a special reading teacher. And she set me down in this room and she was having me read flashcards and she was working with me because I was dyslexic. I couldn't, my numbers, my letters were all going like this. And I remember saying, why am I not in the regular classroom? Why is this teacher helping me with my reading? Don't I read good? Don't I read good? And she was helping me sound out letters. And I was like, am I different than the other children? And then some years later, when I did actually learn to read, it's not that I can't read. I can read very well. But when I'm reading, my letters and the words get all jumbled up and it takes me a long time. And I may have to read them over and over and over again. Was this a big deal in my family? My family didn't even know. But I remember my mom buying me these Disney books that had all the pictures. And I remember reading the Cinderella book. And I could look at all the pictures, and there was all these beautiful pictures of the blonde-headed Cinderella. And I was stuck on page 1 because there was a little tiny paragraph at the bottom. And I read it over and over and over. I don't know how many times trying to read this book, and I could never get through that paragraph. And I was probably 7 years old at the time. Noogie's getting impatient. You be good, baby boy. My parents didn't know. And I struggled with this for years, and I still struggle with it. And sometimes, neurodivergence and autism and stuff like that is mixed with other disabilities that just kind of, go along with it. I never forgot it. Ever forgot it. And you move on up to where I was in my 50s. I had went, and I don't blame these people. They didn't know. They didn't understand. I went to a Christmas party, and I had made a piece of art to be used as a gift exchange. And I love my art. My art means a whole lot to me, but I don't mind sharing it. But when it was given out as a gift, I got to thinking, I wonder if this will just be a piece of junk to them, that maybe they'll just throw it out, or, and I had worked on it for a very long time, or maybe they won't appreciate it, maybe they won't love it, or whatever. And I went to the person and I said, do you really like that? And they're like, yeah, I really like it. And then I said, so you're going to hang it on the wall and you're going to really appreciate it? And they're like, yeah, we think it's really cool, and they were complimentary. And I was like, because I was having nightmares in my head that it was just going to end up in the trash or in a yard sale somewhere in May, and really at this point, who cares? But I was sort of called on the carpet about that, and someone said to me, well, you think very highly of your art, don't you? It's just hypersensitivity. It's just being neurodivergent. But that will never leave my mind. Have I forgiven them? There's nothing to forgive. It's no big deal. But that will never leave my mind. The stigma of passing a relative in the parking lot and having them act like they don't, know you, or roll their eyes, because it's like, oh my God, there they are again, that stuff stays with you. And it hurts and it builds up. I want to give you a heads up, because we are the sensitive. We are not special needs. We are special. Because of our hypersensitivity and because of our goodness, because of our goodness of heart, and the world is special to us. We are the generation that needs to come along. We are the generation of sensitivity, of empathy, of caring, of loving. And don't destroy us and make us to be upset and hurt and be lashing out by your neurotypical thought patterns. Accept us for who we are. The world will become a better place. But there's a transition period. There is a transition period that's going to go on. And parents and relatives need to take note. No, we can't hold a job most of the time. We can't hold a job. Why? Because we can't stay consistent, because we are distracted, because we are forgetful, because we have audio delay, because we, have these issues that corporate America will not tolerate. I worked in a hotel at one time, and I drove my general manager crazy because the hotel was 4 floors, there was a lot of rooms, and I did a lot of walking back and forth and rechecking the rooms over and over and over again to make sure that they were cleaned, because the numbers got all mixed up and I couldn't remember what floor I was on. And the hallways looked all the same. Yeah, I drove my general manager crazy because of that. I couldn't help it. Holding down a job is very, very difficult. But parents that are neurotypical, they don't understand that. They've got 2 or 3 kids that are holding down jobs and went to college, and why can't you? Why do you sit and play your games all the time? Well, we sit and play our games all the time because it's a release. It's a release, and we can escape the neurotypical nightmare for just a little while. So I think I probably went on about this long enough, but I want you to realize that neurodivergence is the future of the world. And you may say, oh my gosh, no, we're smart enough to get it done. It's just things have to be done different. And neurotypical just doesn't cut it and doesn't work anymore. So if we can't hold a job, what are we going to do? We're going to have private industry. We're going to be business owners. We're going to be artists. We're going to be authors. We're going to be doing things that make the world interesting and fun. And we're going to be creating. And that's the world of the future. This seems like it's kind of a rant. It is coming from the depths of my soul and what I've went through over the past few days, and all of the memories. And these things, these stories that I've told, they're not just to blast out neurotypicals and things that I've experienced, because I did the same thing oftentimes to my children when they were little. Why can't you just be normal? Why can't you just do your schoolwork? Why do you cry every time I sit you down to a lesson? Because I couldn't understand it. I wasn't educated enough on it, and I thought that I was educating myself, but I was just so wrong. In this position as well, sometimes I was too harsh on them and other people. It's like, why can't you understand me? Or why did you do this? Don't you know it hurt me? It's just a jumble and a mess. But the more we educate, the better it will get. One other thing I want to add right before I finish this video is that oftentimes among the autistic, neurodivergence, highly sensitive people, we kind of have tunnel vision, and especially if you have an autistic family where you've got more than one or multiple, or maybe even all of you are neurodivergent, we have a tendency to forget that the other ones are, because they'll be doing things that, like stimming or echolalia or talking too loud or something, and they're like, why can't they just stop? Maybe somebody has a meltdown because they got their feelings hurt at this one or that one. And, it's just not your turn yet, right? So you may have a complete shutdown, go completely avoidant. You don't want to talk. You may have a meltdown. But everybody has to tolerate each other. And personally, as a mother, of multiple kids with autism, high functioning autism, level 1 autism, sometimes it has seemed a little bit unfair, because I am doing my best to understand and educate and grow, but there's been times that I failed, or I failed to be exactly what I needed to be, or I was something was confusing to me, or there was a misunderstanding about something, or maybe I had a meltdown and I broke down about something, but there was, I was supposed to be the strong one, right? I was supposed to be the one that was in control. I was the mother. That was my position, but I just wasn't quite there, because yes, I had the same condition as my kids. Whatever's going on in your household, you have to really practice being understanding of why each person's doing what they do, and make allowance and have patience, and most of all, just love each other. I'm going to try to make another video that's a little bit more cheerful this evening, but I had to get this out, and I want to say Feliz Navidad and Merry Christmas. We will get through this together, having hope in the future. Bye-bye for now.